Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Newcastle United are back on the European trail this week when they face Qarabag in the first leg of their Champions League playoff tie. Who better to join me to preview that game than a man that was there Newcastle United's first European adventure that experienced everything from Feyenoord to Wipers Dosa? It is John Gibson. Welcome along, John.
Wouldn't it be lovely if we got to the final again? I know I'm pipe dreaming here, but we got the final again because the final's in Budapest,
It is.
which is where we won the cup in '69. So that would be appropriate. But let's not get carried away by two successive wins because we Geordies always do that, don't we? Because
We
that's
do.
part of the enjoyment. But I've got to say, Mark, we said SOS, save our season, didn't we? And they've just done that by winning at Spurs and then keeping the dream alive in the FA Cup, which is terrific. And also getting rid, to a certain extent, of a horrendous away record with those two victories. So it's looking a lot brighter than it did a week ago.
I will grab you quickly on Villa because we spoke
Hmm.
about it about the fact that the season had to be kept alive by this,
Yeah.
FA Cup run, and I know we joke about the fact that well, it's not even a joke, is it? Let's be honest. The fact that they aren't going to win the Champions League realistically, so the FA Cup is the last hope. But
Correct.
more than anything, it carries the momentum from Spurs into Villa and now into Qarabag. So, and an added bonus, they won without Bruno, so it
Yeah,
feels like
yes, and
a win.
put that to bed as well, which is great. And one or two cynics or Sunderland supporters say, "Aye, but you only beat 10 men." We in fact didn't. We beat 13 men because we beat Villa's 10 and the referee in these two liners. Because that is the worst display of officialdom I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the three blind mice could have done better. It's incredible because every decision, I mean, their goal was offside, and it was offside by a yard, which in football terms is a mile. I mean, it was easy to see with the naked eye. You didn't need VAR, or you shouldn't have done. We did need it because it wasn't chalked off. And the guy should have been sent off for doing Murphy on the tackle. And then it was a penalty, not a free kick.
Yeah.
Luckily, we scored from the free kick, as it happens. But it was shocking refereeing in Andy's liners as well. I mean, it was absolutely shocking. So we won it really by the length of Northumberland Street, and deservedly so. And that was great. That was smashing.
Yeah, and it keeps those Wembley dreams alive. A possible third visit to Wembley, and in 4 seasons, still a lot to go. We should say it is only the fifth round. So, as we record this, we don't know the fifth round draw takes place on Monday night. We're recording this on Monday morning. Looking ahead to Qarabag, I sort of half joked at the start there, but this is very much a journey into the unknown for Newcastle, a little bit
Very.
like in 68, 69, when they travelled to places that Newcastle, well, every place they travelled to, they'd never been to, except maybe Rangers.
Yes.
But this one feels very, very different to back then, I guess, because it is the longest journey Newcastle United have ever made for a competitive
Oh,
fixture.
it's
Mark,
incredible. I mean, Baku's almost fallen off the end of the world, doesn't it? Geographically, it's that far away. And we don't think of Azerbaijan as being a football nation. And it certainly isn't one of the powers like Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, Barcelona, or the Premier League high flyers, big hitters. It's nothing like that whatsoever. And therefore, it's intriguing, it's fascinating, it's an awful long journey, yes. But I think what we've got to guard against, and by the way, over two legs, I fully expect us to qualify. I mean, it almost, if we keep it respectable out there, a narrow win, a draw, or a narrow defeat, we would overcome any of that because of the home leg. I mean, I'm expecting us to get through as long as we do the business out there, keep it tight, don't get silly, don't get sloppy. Because the warning from me, Mark, is that whatever they are, and another powerhouse footballing side, the, we are going for three away wins on the trot. And the warning is they score goals at home in the Champions League. Every Champions League game they've played at home, they've scored at least two goals.
yes,
They beat Eintracht Frankfurt 3-2. They beat Copenhagen 2-0. They drew 2-2 with Chelsea. And even when they lost to Ajax, they lost 4-2. They scored 2 goals. So in each of their 4 Champions League home matches, they've scored 2 goals. Now
Yeah.
that's warning because Newcastle the defence away from home can leak goals. So I'm glad there is a warning because it'll keep us concentrated on the matter. A lot of people think it's a shoe-in. The away game is. They think, oh, we just turn up and we win because this side isn't as good as the Premier League sides. And of course they're not. But we've got to be careful because this is their biggest game in the club's history. To make the qualification for the last 16 in the Champions League, this is the biggest game they've had in a very short history, the club, but it's the biggest game they've ever had. So at least in the home leg, they'll want to shoot off some fireworks for their own fans. So we've got to be careful, but I'm very optimistic over the 2 legs. Of course I am. But we've got to be careful. If we adopt the idea that we just go out there, turn up, win, and come home and think of Man City, that's dangerous because it's going to be more difficult than that.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you look at the teams that they have beaten. You mentioned it there in what you were saying. I mean, they beat Benfica away 3-2, which should be a massive warning sign, given what Benfica have done this season in the Champions League. Eintracht Frankfurt at home, as you say. Another club maybe not having a great season at home, but certainly a good side in Frankfurt. The draw with Chelsea, again, I know we always talk about Chelsea, that they're inconsistent. But again, these are little warning signs that should, added together, make a big warning sign for Newcastle United.
Yeah. I mean, all things being equal, Newcastle United win over the 2 legs, and that's all that matters. The first leg, if we lost by a single goal and then beat them 3-0 at home, we're through. And I'm not suggesting for 1 second we'll get beat out there, no at all. But it is different from Villa, Mark. When we went to Villa, there was no safety net. We had to do it on the day. We had to beat them on the day, and we did. There's a safety net here. The second leg is at St James's Park, and we can sort everything out then if necessary. But we want to keep this one going. I've got 2 wins on the trot. Yeah. Let's go out there and keep the one going and go into Manchester City. So different from the way we might have gone into it. So I think it'll be a good game. We have got a warning. I think Eddie will be very keen to flag up that warning to them because complacency is our biggest problem out there for this game. But yeah, I'm confident over 2 legs.
And we should say that this Champions League campaign has been a historic one for Newcastle. They are into the knockout stages for the first time in the club's history. I always caveat that by saying they did reach the second group stage of the competition under Sir Bobby Robson in 2002, 2003. So they have progressed from the first stage of the competition. But to have what we could say, and this is with all due respect to Qarabag, a winnable playoff round tie to get into the last 16, it's a huge, huge opportunity for Newcastle.
Of course. I mean, we would have took it before we started in the Champions League if we'd been asked, will we go for the playoffs? And I always smile when we say, it's just a little thing with me, when we say we've reached the knockout stages. I think, well, I'm not certain that having a qualification match is a knockout stage. It is, because you can get knocked out, literally. Yeah, but I mean, I think the genuine knockout stages is after you've won the qualifier and you're in the last 16. But I mean, yes, it's great for us, and it was the best draw that was possible to us in terms of the quality of the opposition, not in terms of how far we've got to travel. But that's wonderful for fans. You want to see new places. We've played Barcelona, and by the way, we might be playing them again in the last 16. It's same at Chelsea, isn't it? But we've been to Barcelona, as wonderful as it is, etc. We've been to Barcelona many times. We've been over to Scandinavia many times, etc. But this is new. For fans, they'll remember this the rest of their life, because Newcastle will probably never play in Baku again. In recent coming history. So it is a special day, and it's a beautiful, beautiful city. So I think it'll be wonderful for the fans. I think it's a terrific extra for the fans.
I know from speaking to someone at the club that when the draw came out, or when the draw was being made, we knew it was going to be either Monaco, where we've been as well, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Very, very special Monaco side as well in the UEFA Cup. Or as you say, it was going to be Qarabag. And I know people at the club were looking at it from a logistical point of view and saying, getting to Monaco is so much more easier than getting to
Oh,
so, and we know Newcastle fans are arriving in Baku now. Some have already arrived as we record this. I know for a fact Lee Ryder's on his way over there now, so he's heading to Baku. The logistical side of it is going to be a challenge as well. It is, sort of two flights or two changes. Sorry, it is, as I say, I'll repeat it again, the longest journey Newcastle United have ever made for a competitive fixture. So that challenge is going to be as big as the one on the pitch. As much as they travel in comfort, these players, you've got to deal with that side of it as well.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, people, neither of them, by the way, are playing in this match, but people like Bruno and Joe Linton do it regularly with Brazil because Brazil play all over the world because they're in such demand because of this romantic football nation. And they fly off to Asia. And now the two boys, as it happens, aren't playing in this particular match. But top footballers face these sort of things. They are mountainous to us. But, if you become a top club in the world, and that is the hope for Newcastle United, and they're talking about 2030 and all that, then you do these sort of things because it's part of life at the sharp end. But it's a concern because it's so far away. And I'm glad we played on the Saturday and it gave us a little bit of space to play there, and then we'd come home for yet another away game. We're on the road permanently these days. But it's going to be interesting. If we go about it the right way, we'll be okay.
Before we go on, I've got another question on that actually, but before we do that, I'll say a big thank you to NordVPN, our sponsors. Hit the link in the podcast description box to get a discounted offer on your NordVPN plan. One subscription can be used across 10 devices, and there's no risk with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can get an exclusive discount on your NordVPN by clicking or heading to nordvpn.com and using the discount code TUNE. You mentioned that. I'm pleased you mentioned that because I was going to ask this question. So Newcastle now, they've progressed into the fifth round of the FA Cup, which has taken out one of the only free weekends they were going to have between now and I think it's the middle of March. If they progress beyond Qarabag, which we hope they do, that then adds another two fixtures in at very least in the last 16, which I think means Newcastle won't have a break now until, and I realise you'll say there's a national break in March, but we know that's not a rest for the players because a lot of the squad will be away. So my question, I'd say, we have to get used to this because this is a sign of progress from Newcastle, the fact that they are, and it's not so long ago under the former owner when cup competitions were taken for granted. This is a sign of success, of progress within Newcastle United.
You said the exact phrase that matters, Mark. Get used to it, because if we want to be big time, this is what big time is. You stay in the two domestic cups, you're naturally in the Premier League trying to qualify for Europe, and you're playing in Europe. Get used to it. We can't wish for success, but want to play less games and talk about getting tired. Because if you want success, you do get tired because you do play all the time. It's up to us to strengthen our squad, deepen our squad so that we can handle things like this. But it's hypocritical to chase it, and then when we achieve it, moan about it and say how tired we are. I'm not meaning we do that, because I think Eddie is very, very good at accepting and not putting excuses out there. He accepts things, including injuries. He accepts things as this is the life of football, and you get on with it. But yes, if we wanted a rest, do we want to, let's have a rest because we're all tired? Does that mean that we're disappointed because we didn't lose at Aston Villa in the Cup, and we'll be quite happy not to qualify from Qarabag over 2 games because we'll have a free week midweek? I think not. I think we were absolutely elated. I know I was, and I'm certain you were, and every Geordie was, over winning at Aston Villa, and Eddie and the players were certainly delighted. And there's no way we want to go to Baku and come back and have no chance of progressing. So yes, let's just get on with it and get the job done.
Now, just looking at our old favourite topic of team selection, which we love discussing, what Eddie could do. obviously Aaron Ramsdale came in on Saturday as kind of what has been a cup goalkeeper this season. Apart from the Champions League, you look at the team selection. We know Botman's picked up an injury. I mean, I'm looking at the unused substitutes for Saturday's game.
Yes.
And you look at it, and you've got Nick Pope, who I think will probably come back in. You've got John
Pope will come back without a shadow of a doubt. And Botman, by the way, is all right. Yeah. He was rested. We said it had a bit of a knock.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it was me, and we don't know what he's going to do, and he's going to spread the load to a certain extent, but I think Pope would be back. Trips would have to stay right back simply because we haven't got Miley or anybody else, and I would just go with Tripp. Yeah, Chow, Burn, and Hall. Although there's Botman that can be used somewhere there. Midfield, I thought we did well with the way we had it. Tonali was wonderful. So pleased to see him back to what he can be. Yeah. I would go Tonali, Ramsey, and Voldemort played midfield. Yes. You know, I was surprised when Alan in the first half was saying he's too deep and he ought to get up onto the shoulder of Osula. Alan, he wasn't playing as a striker, he was playing as a midfielder. Yeah. And he's got the feet to play. And I think he did well as a midfielder, to be truthful. So I would go Tonali, Ramsey, and Voldemort. So my only change there is Pope, but I would change in the front. This is just me. I would play Elanga for Murphy. I would play Gordon for Osula and keep Bonds in. And that's regardless of whether Wissa is fit or not fit. I think Gordon has got the better feet and he'll torment them and he'll have a lot of trickery for them. Bonds will be there for his goals. And I think Elanga's coming into it a little bit more, and yes. Jacob hasn't really hit the form of last season as yet. So my changes would be up top, apart from Pope.
Yeah, I mean, I know the natural thing to do on a podcast is to disagree to provoke a conversation, but I have to say I fully agree. Absolutely, yeah. I think Gordon, we had this criticism early in the season that he wasn't quite doing it as a number 9, but I think the way that he presses as a number 9, the way that he can drop deep and link up play, the way that he can certainly get in behind with pace. He could genuinely, given the form he's been in the Champions League, he could be the match winner.
Oh, there's no question about that. And, you know, as you said, some fans saying, well, doesn't do it as a number 9. Tell me which of our number 9s is doing it.
That's true.
I mean, Voldemort is not a 9. I much prefer what he did at Villa. Yeah. And Wissa is struggling. And Osula looked what he is, an enthusiastic fall out in the field who will gallop all over the place, but little impact, really. It doesn't look, for me, the quality. You know, you almost want to get a hold of him, give him a big kiss and say, just calm down a little bit. Just, you know, chill out a little bit, because you might. But he's so wildly enthusiastic. He's everywhere, isn't he? But then when he gets the ball, it's like a hot potato. And I don't think, yes, he was isolated, etc., at Villa. But no, I think Gordon is better than the Sula at centre forward at the moment. And the reason why we're playing Gordon is because Wissa and Voldemort aren't doing any better. And Voldemort can fill in that bit. I thought Voldemort down there did quite well. I mean, by all means, Tonali was the star of the show. And by the way, what a good player Hall is. I mean, every time I see, and I'm glad Thomas Tuchel was there, because I know he was there because of Gordon, because of Ollie Watkins, because of Rodgers, but I hope he had a look at this left back and somebody tapped him on the shoulder and said, by the way, he was in England regularly until he got injured a little while back, you know, because he is quality. He's the dog's dinner. Lewis Hall, I think he's absolutely terrific. For me, over the whole season, he's probably our star man. Chow was another one that would be in there with a chance of it being. Bruno would have a chance of it being. But Lewis Hall's would have a shout. He's terrific, and he never seems to let you down.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I'm pleased you brought up Tonali as well there. I know you had a little chat about him earlier, but given Bruno is now set to be on the sidelines for the next 8 to 10 weeks with that hamstring injury picked up against Tottenham, Tonali's importance to the side, which was already significant, you're thinking now it's absolutely essential that he hits form between now and the end of the season.
When we were in our pump last season, it was built, if you remember the cup final, it was built on our midfield. What a powerhouse. Tonali, Bruno and Joe Linton. I mean, they bullied and dominated Liverpool. Absolutely bullied them. And then all of a sudden, we're two Brazilians are out.
Yeah.
And Tonali has been playing in a fog, bless him, and had actually been dropped.
Yeah.
Tonali wasn't in the team before Villa, if you remember.
Yeah.
And therefore, we had a big question mark against Sandro. Is he wanting to go? Has he had his head turned? Is he not getting enough sleep because he's got a new baby? What is it? But he looked as if he had all the cares of the world on his shoulders. And suddenly we lose the two Brazilians, and Tonali hasn't been in the team. And our midfield, which was our great strength last season, seemed to be our huge weakness because Miley wasn't available to help there either. And then suddenly Ramsey's got that flicker of positivity about him that he might be going to be a player there. And Tonali just become the Tonali we know and love down at Villa Park. I mean, the goals, 2 goals from outside the box. And he ran the show. And by Jove, don't we need him over the next few weeks with no Bruno here. And if he steps up to the mark, like we remember him last season, if he steps up the mark the way he did at Villa, we will be okay.
Yeah,
we will be okay because he is what it's about when he's on song. And it was just wonderful. The biggest thing we got out of Villa was seeing Sandro look like the Sandro that we fell in love with. And that's very, very important to this team, especially under the current circumstances.
And just as important as that, Joe Linton and Lewis Miley closing in on a return to
full. Oh, yes. We need that as quickly as possible. But it's lovely to see Ramsey having a little cameo where he looks as if he's doing something. And Voldemort, you know, and we've all slaughtered whether he's a centre forward or not. And he hadn't scored since Adrian built his wall until he scored there. But he played in a position which was fun to him because he normally plays as a 10. He's not a 9 and he's not a midfielder. He was moved a bit further back into midfield. And I think he was admirable. I think he did well. It was on his birthday, St. Valentine's Day. Wonderful. And there was a St. Valentine's massacre, but we produced it. Well, we in case Aston Villa produced it. And we did because we were... You know, when you look back, you can't believe we lost to them at St. James's, can you? Because we won that one on their patch comfortably. And with 3 officials who could see and had a little bit of courage, we would have won by a cricket score.
Probably sums up where Newcastle are at this season. Just to wrap up, looking ahead again to Qarabag, I guess the first aim is to come back to St. James's with, as you said, if they can't get a draw, to get a narrow defeat, so there's something to build on back at St. James's.
I mean, if we keep it tight, we are through. But I don't think that we will play to keep it tight, and I hope we don't, because I think we're better than that and we're on a good run. And I mean, I believe we'll get a draw at the least, or we'll win out there, and we'll certainly get through over the 2 legs. And even if we lost by a goal, I wouldn't be crying because we'll overturn that at St. James's Park. We've got to make certain we're still in the game when we leave Baku. That's what we've got to do. And I can't see us not doing that. I just give the warning about the goals they've scored because the biggest problem we've got is not going to be Qarabag. It's going to be complacency.
Yes.
That's the biggest problem we have out there, and we've got to prevent ourselves from falling into what is a very easy trap. But I think what we've gone through recently, the trauma and the bad results and the players getting so depressed with what they were doing that they had to have a team meeting to get, and well done them, because it's worked. And Eddie being openly questioned on whether he should still be the Newcastle manager and has produced 2 wins out of that. I think that both the players and the manager will be raw enough from the time they've come through, not to get the big cigars out in the deck chairs when they're in Baku on Wednesday night. I think they'll say, "Come on, you know, let's go again because we need to. We remembered what the pain was like, so let's not bring that back upon us." You know.
John, many thanks for your time as always. Looking forward to another big European night for Newcastle United. We'll be back later today where we'll have a view from the opposition with a bit of a difference. Couldn't find any Qarabag fans to take part, but we do have a European football expert, Andy Brassel, who has given us a fantastic insight into what Newcastle United will face on Wednesday night and in the return leg next week at St James's Park. That one's well worth a watch or a listen. We'll be back then, and we'll have some immediate reaction to the game on Wednesday night as well. We will see you then.